We're on the lunch break and the first day of questioning of the undercover police detective chief inspector, Mike Dell, at the undercover policing inquiry. He's just been answering questions about why he regarded the role of the SDS to be countering subversion, finding the revolutionary cadre before they're able to unleash their revolutionary fervor. He was asked about misogyny and racism. He displayed that he's not a misogynist because he even locked a woman in a room for half an hour to try and get to join the unit, so he couldn't possibly be. And then he's presented himself as a very detail-orientated professional bureaucrat who was an intellectual and all across all the detail. And when we got to the Tradecraft Manual, he said, "I never read the contents page, let alone the actual contents." I mean, well, I'm joined by Emily Apple, a regular of this parish. And what did you make of it?
Well, I mean, that last bit about the Tradecraft Manual was utterly unbelievable.
Completely.
And with all these managers, it's just kind of like they either have to say they read it and have to answer for the shit that's in it, or they have to look like completely incompetent managers who had no curiosity, didn't know, like it's, like they said, it was the only training document that they had. And he said as well, like he didn't come from a UCO background, that he, he had experience managing informers, but not UCOs. So the idea that he didn't read this document is totally impossible.
I mean, it was quite ridiculous. I mean, he displayed some sort that he claimed that he had like a real working understanding of the Regulatory Investigative Powers Act, and that why it wasn't quite fit for purpose for the SDS because of the differentials that are required between that and managing informants. He's presented himself through all morning as someone who has a greater understanding. He said he was 30 years ahead of the Metropolitan Police when it came to the understanding of institutional racism. Yet he didn't read the only training document that existed. He said that training was, even if, like, he explained he's been on many training courses, but they never taught him anything he didn't already know.
No,
because he knows everything.
He knows everything.
But that's no reason not to go to training. All training is useful. All training is important. He is the only piece of training that they had, and he never read it. I mean, we even saw the agenda for induction, where it literally says, Mike Dell informs Robert Hastings to spend some time to comprehensively study the SDS Tradecraft Manual. I mean, it is ludicrous to suggest he's incapable.
Completely ludicrous. And I mean, with all of them, they said they haven't read it. It is just, it is unbelievable. And hopefully, I mean, I always say this, that the inquiry sees how unbelievable it is and don't just go, oh, it was a failure of management to read it or engage with it, rather than, no, they're all blatantly lying and they have to have read it. Yeah.
He claims that, he just as we finished, he said that the motivation of all the undercover officers who engaged in sexual activity whilst they're deployed was purely out of sexual gratification. That they had set up this lifestyle, 2 lifestyles, 3 lifestyles. It was quite funny that, like, he said, I do not accept this idea that the weary sailors were tempted by mermaids on the rocks. Which fair enough. Like, he's obviously practiced that one. He's thought this through.
Yeah.
He's making great play of the fact that he made a direct instruction that that sex was not permitted in any circumstances. He was very sort of flamboyant when he said that he told Robert Hastings, his wife, in front of Robert Hastings, that if he engages in sexual activity undercover, he'll be out.
Out the door.
None of this seems. He says that he's been following the inquiry very closely. He talked about some of Helen's evidence on Friday. I didn't recognise what he was on about, to be perfectly honest. I wonder if he's already got it confused.
It sounded like it was another statement that he was talking about, and not Helen's evidence, from what I could work out. But I wasn't entirely sure.
He was on about YRE, which I don't know.
And Peter Francis. It was it was very strange. But out of all of them, he is the only one that seems to have followed it very closely. Or has admitted. I'm sure the other ones have followed it closely, but he's the only one who's admitted to following it really, really closely.
Yeah. We had another attempted strikeout by the police, an attempt to have a reporting restriction order put in place for some of the hearings. I presume it had come from the police. It wasn't allowed to. I mean, in it, this was actually covered the section about locking a woman up in a. He said he also claimed that he walked around with the names of 7 women.
In his wallet.
Yeah,
Oh, no, his back pocket.
yeah, which he was going to pull out. And if anybody ever said there's not enough women in your unit, you go, well, here's 7 people I want you to recruit.
I mean, that was just bizarre as well, because if he had this list, like he was a detective chief inspector, why wasn't he saying, oh, I've got all these women that I want to recruit?
Yeah.
And
sounds like they didn't want to work for you, Mike.
Being locked in a room with them.
Right, yeah.
And this has been like the case with like the managers last week. You're also agreeing, like every time they were asked about racism and misogyny, they went, no, we didn't see any, but then answered with real misogynistic or racist comments.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, okay, like we know this, but like you are proving it yourselves time and time again just by what you're letting slip.
Yeah. I mean, one of the other things which was during the time of the restriction order was attempted, we are allowed to report on, was that there were 3 officers of ethnic minority in the unit at this time, as well as Robert Hastings' wife being black, which is his explanation for why there was never any racist banter or jokes.
No, that wouldn't happen at all.
No, I mean, it's quite interesting. I mean, it suggests that none of the officers that we are looking at were from ethnic minority. There are a lot of restricted officers. A lot of those restricted officers are in an area we're not allowed to talk about, and I won't be tempting any restriction orders on my own coverage by like speculating or anything about it. But 3 officers of ethnic minority backgrounds who were in the unit in between 2001 and 2005. I mean, it's new information. I mean, I think it's worth looking into that. I'm sure people will be.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, he claimed that, that there was never any sexism, there was never any racism in the whole of Special Branch. I mean, he said he could point to things in a uniform, but not in Special Branch at all. He keeps answering questions by kind of intellectualizing, going back to stuff from the 60s, talking around the subject and not actually getting to the heart of what's being asked.
Yeah, definitely. He thinks he is very clever with his political knowledge. He thinks he's being very direct. He likes his metaphors. But amongst that, he is dropping in a lot of information as well. I like the stuff he was saying this morning about C Squad as well, and all the targeting that came through C Squad, all the regular meetings, because it's like one of the things that I've been quite passionate about is the fact that we don't have any representation or any statements from C Squad in this tranche of the inquiry, and they are all over the targeting. They are all over what the SDS was doing, and their influence on the SDS should be part of this inquiry. It's like it should be an intrinsic part. So it was really good to hear about that relationship from him, because he worked in C Squad before joining the SDS. But at least he's got a memory.
Yes.
It's like the first one we've heard. He's just been like, apart from his time, like some of his time in C Squad and the Tradecraft manual that he got no reflection of. The
handover. I mean, you get the impression that he's very much making sure he didn't leave HN58 in the shit, and was like, oh, I can't remember anything about the handover. Maybe I'm doing him a disservice. And he did. It was very full of the handover, but I simply can't recall it. Which, I mean, when it was pointed out in the HN58 didn't say that there was any handover, then he was like, oh, right, okay. But
that's fine.
Yeah.
No handover, no management. And this is the thing, it's just kind of like they're also making a rod for their own backs with this whole thing as well, of not saying they haven't seen the Tradecraft manual, they didn't know what any of their UCOs were up to. Well, then how can they trust any of the intelligence that came from their UCOs? Like the whole premise of what they were doing and what they were collating is so undermined by these statements that they're making as well. And I think that's the other conclusion it's the only other conclusion that you can reach from this is that the whole operation, like we know, obviously we know the whole operation was tainted, but like you can't trust anything that was coming out of it because, like by their own admission, there was no, if you believe them, there was no management, there was no oversight, they didn't know what they were doing, they're disappointed in their UCOs. So,
Yeah. I mean, he said just before the previous break that he didn't, he probably can't trust anything, that any of the evidence that Carlos Sorachi delivered, in retrospect. which I think, I mean, well, yeah, that's what we've been saying for some time, that you genuinely can't believe any of these men. Just that thing about the tasking from C Squad, he was quite clear that like all tasking came from C Squad, but all came from him personally. Essentially, he was saying when he was DCI of C Squad. Yeah, but what he wanted was for E Squad to be doing some of the tasking. So he took it on himself to do E Squad style tasking until they got on board.
And then we're requesting it.
Yeah, which I mean, there's a lot to unpick there, I think.
So much to unpick there. And, you know, but then also this contradiction of kind of like, he could take on tasking on his own, but he couldn't suggest his list of women he had in his back pocket.
Yeah. He talked a lot about the shadow of 9/11, that this changed everything, that he wanted to retask. He said that he wanted to only have one officer in the extreme left wing as a monitor for these possible revolutionary cadre who could lead things in a different direction. But and he wanted to restyle the unit. There was a lot of talk about that. There was a restriction order around that, some of the things connected to that, which we can't talk about. But you know, he gives the impression of him like fundamentally changing the unit and turning it into a completely different organization. It didn't stop it getting shut down within 2 years of him retiring. You know,
or the people coming in after him having loads of criticisms over the way the unit was run.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that final report on the SDS, you know, is the SDS that he was running. So, I mean, the idea that he's like he seemed to be trying to present himself as like the grown-up who's come in and like tried to sort it all out, but that's not the impression.
It's not the case at all. And even with, you know, he was saying about ending HN3's operation, but then he wanted to
Jason Bishop.
Replace HN3 with HN77, Jackie Anderson. But then he was just like, oh, that was just for a short amount of time. So to cover, I guess, the bits of 2005 that Bishop didn't cover. But that wasn't ending an operation. That was sending someone else in to continue an operation that was coming to an end.
Yeah. He very much wants to like have it both ways, in that, you know, he talked about having, you know, he shut down Jackie Anderson's operation, and that he wanted to shut down 4 more. He didn't really explain why he was prevented from doing that.
No,
it didn't happen, but you wanted to, but you didn't.
You know, and why not? And what, you know, what was it about those operations that they then decided to continue? And I don't think we didn't find out all 4, did we?
No, we didn't know. We only found out the 2, which was HN60, David Evans, and oh God,
HN77, and Jackie Anderson. And then he said HN3, Jason Bishop as well. But that was confusing.
He was going to replace them with replace him with HN77. So I mean, that again, he's trying to have it both ways. It seems to be a real hallmark of the way he's answering questions.
And again, there was an implication with that Simon Wellings, who we know just went around reading internet forums and making shit up, was this kind of roving UCO that they wanted. Which, given what we know about what he did, is interesting as well.
I mean, it says a lot, really. I mean, I think, like, you know, because he can point to that as like, well, he wasn't invasive. I mean, perhaps he's thinking, well, you know, he's on solid ground. I can say that one was good because there was no invasive behavior, because he was just. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I think the thing we kind of forget about Sam Wellings is he was undercover. He was pretending to be somebody else in a whole lifestyle with a bunch of people who weren't involved in politics. I mean, all these undercover officers had this like wider sort of deployment where they were, you know, made friends, joined the local library, whatever it was, went to a pub, whatever. He was doing all that. We don't get. He might have been up to all sorts of terrible things to that group of people who are obviously not represented in the inquiry. None of the people who were were deceived in that way by the undercover officers have had any role in this inquiry. None of those things are talked about. They weren't reported on. It's a completely like ghost area of everything. I mean, we've seen in Simon Wellings is like logs that he was, you know, kind of talking about these times where he was terribly drunk and had to like kind of sleep in his duff rather than go home or whatever. And it's like, well, he's obviously up to something, you know what I mean? But what it was, we'll never know. Yeah, so I mean, we've got 2.5 more days of Mike Dell. Is anything particularly you're hoping he gets questioned on?
Oh, so much. I mean, for me particularly, I'm interested in his role in HN3 Jason Bishop's criminality and his positions of influence. We touched on it this morning when he completely denied that UCOs would be used to cause any disruption in groups.
Yes.
Which, again, we know is not the case.
I mean, particularly seeing he was the one who was suggesting it in a file note in relation to globalized resistance after Simon Wellings got exposed.
Yeah, and I think that those kind of things. He said that he used to run part of the course on participating informers on Ripper, which is also, something that is a real issue with HN3 and the stuff that he was involved in. So it'd be really interesting if he is asked about some of those things. I'd like to hear more about what happened with HN77. And again, it's a shame she's not giving evidence because it would be really good to hear her side of things, especially as one of the only women. HN30, the cover sergeant, is one of the other only women on the unit that we know about who also isn't giving evidence. So, which I think is a real shame, especially when you've got all these men going, "Oh no, there was no misogyny,"
right?
And then the couple of women that we've got, we're not hearing from.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I mean, we didn't hear from Lee Bosner, who was meant to appear in a previous. Sandra during the very beginning of the inquiry, during one of the originals, the only woman to appear, I think, from the police side.
Well, I can't remember any. I might be. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time, but I'm pretty sure it's from the police side. It's just been Sandra. Cover name Sandra. I can't remember her HN number, but one of the originals from 1968. I'm quite hoping we get a proper explanation of the clarification he made right at the start, where he says that yes, Carlos Sorachi did tell him about one relationship, not two, as Sorachi claimed. Yep. It was in September, October 2001. He claims he acted on that at the time, but I mean, I don't think it doesn't stack up completely. Also, his investigation into Operation Lime, that'll be big.
That will be big. That will be very big. I'm really interested. And again, he's so disappointed with all these UCOs.
Yeah.
I poor dear. It's beyond words that these are supposed to be intelligence officers, and they have no intelligence or curiosity about any of their officers. And related to Operation Lime and just generally all the faulty and exaggerated intelligence and what happened to it and what the impact was of that intelligence, because it did not stick in the SDS, and as we said, it all went to C Squad, what C Squad did with it and the impact that had on all of us on the streets as well, because of this faulty and exaggerated intelligence from these cops that he said that we can't trust. Oh, that's a shocker for us.
It's an absolute shocker. My favorite line of the day is, he said, "You can trust her." Now, don't laugh. You can trust an undercover. I mean, just like Jesus Christ. I think that one of the interesting things about the James Thompson thing is that he keeps saying he was gone. He was gone. It's like, well, actually, Mike, he was still a special branch officer. He carried on in close protection. He was given a gun within within no time at all of being supposedly disciplined in this way. I mean, there's a lot of he makes these sweeping statements as if, I sorted that out, and it's like, you didn't sort anything out.
No, you really didn't.
No. Well, we'll be back. The hearings will restart at 2:10, which means the broadcast will start at 2:25. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, just stay tuned, because he so far has been one of the most interesting ones that we've heard from. He's amongst his sort of flourishes and metaphors. There's quite a lot of information, and he appears to have a memory that might miraculously disappear for key incidents that you think would stick in someone's head.
Yes.
But so far he's actually quite precise with his memories.
He is.
It's.
It was a Monday. It was this month.
It was sort of. I hesitate to say this because I don't mean this in the way it sounds, but in terms of the sort of precision of how he is remembering stuff, it's actually more like listening to one of our side in terms of how we present things and can actually contextualize things, which we haven't had from any of the others.
It's been such a low bar that we're like we're kind of blown away. Full sentences at a normal pace of speaking.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very low bar. I think that's really worth stating. But it isn't just like
can't remember
3-minute pause of looking a bit uncomfortable, like oh, I really can't recall.
Could you repeat that again? Can you say that again?
I'm not quite sure I understood the question.
Yeah. Can I read the document? Give me 5 minutes to read the document. Looks panicked. Like, I mean, it's an incredibly low bar, but yeah, he is actually. I'm hoping to learn things. I mean, we have learned a number of things today that we didn't know before, which is like an unusual feeling from from a witness.
Yeah, I say too. It's like, you might actually learn something.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. All right, well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you all again this afternoon. I'll do another video in the afternoon break and then one at the end of the day. Bye for now.
Bye.